All right, thank you again for tuning in. Learn a little bit more about what I have in my flight bag. But first I want to call out these awesome hats that I got from my friend Chris Palmer over at Angle of Attack. If you don't know Chris is based up in Homer, Alaska. Chris literally breathes aviation, whether it's through AOPA or through his Instagram channel or YouTube channel. Chris is an awesome friend, and he's just a great advocate for the aviation community. So if you're an aviation enthusiast like myself, I definitely recommend you go ahead and check out Angle of Attack and even check out these awesome hats. So I want to get started here on the flight gear bag, what I have in it, why I have it. This here is actually the Sporty's Captain bag. So it's got a couple of pockets here on the outside for headphone ports, headsets, and then pouch here in the front for logbook, accessories, pens, and then it's got some slots here in the back as well for paper charts and things, and then the top actually unzips pretty conveniently. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start from the back of the bag all the way to the front of the bag. Going to talk about what I have in the bag, why I have it, and hopefully it gives you guys some ideas for what your flight bag can be. So looking here at the back, I actually have a laminated briefing chart here. Basically this is my briefing card for planning passenger, pre-taxi, pre-departure, and then landing. So this is not a checklist, this is really just briefing. So when I bring a new passenger in the aircraft, just walking through everything that they need to know as we go ahead and get started in that passenger briefing. I also have a quick one-pager here for emergencies in the 172. So if I need to go ahead and reference that very quickly, it's very, very handy. And then I also have a paper chart, paper sectional, and a plotter. Always good to have these as backups in the event that ForeFlight or the iPad or EFB that you're using isn't seem to be working. So really good to have those as well. So going towards the middle of the bag here, you'll actually notice that the top unzips, okay? And this little top slit is solely so you can reach your EFB or your iPad, okay? And really easy to just pull it out. This actually, I'm flying with the iPad Pro 10.5 inch with a pivot case. Pivot makes some awesome cases. They got some great suction cup mounts as well as knee board mounts as well. And this is what I've been flying with. Now, this was a little bit large for the Cessna 172, and so what I've recently moved to is I've actually recently moved here to the iPad Mini. iPad Mini is a fantastic form factor. This here is the iPad Mini 5, which just dropped in March 2019. So really great form factor. Pivot Case is actually making a case for this iPad Mini 5. There's some differences in the 4 and 5, and so they're actually making a case right now, and that'll be out soon. And that'll definitely be my primary iPad that I'll use in the actual cockpit. It's actually still pretty nice to have the iPad Pro out with the pivot case, and the reason for that is because the iPad Pro, for flight planning, before I actually leave, it actually sits up really nicely on this little stand, okay? And I'm able to get all my planning done, and then connected to the internet through ForeFlight, I can actually push all that planning to the iPad Mini. So it's also good just to have another backup iPad in the event that you need it. So that's in that little slot here. If we actually go ahead and fully unzip that case, I'm gonna get into what I have actually inside the bag. So here I've got fuel strainer. Obviously use this quite a bit on pre-flight, as well as a fuel gauge tester, and then just some gloves if I'm actually filling tanks myself, just to try and keep your hands a little bit clean. And definitely want to fly with water. Always important to fly with a water bottle. This is really good. I really like this bottle as well because it actually tells you what you should be consuming throughout the day, and then I can also see what I have consumed during my flight. So that's really good to have there. Obviously you want to have the information manual for your aircraft. I've gone ahead, I've actually tabbed this information manual with some different things. So for example, in red you can see emergency procedures, in yellow, normal, performance, and then weight and balance, right? Those are all really important things to be looking at from all the different sections of the information manual. Just as a word of caution, this is not a replacement to the POH in the aircraft, okay? So if you're gonna be flying and you're going through that aero checklist, it needs to be the original POH in the aircraft itself, okay? So just keep that in mind. This is obviously good for referencing other materials. Continuing on with the EFB flow, this here is my Stratus 3. Really like the Stratus 3. I've flown with a 1S, a 2, a Century, a Scout, and that's about all of them. I think, yeah, and a Stratix, right? I also built a Stratix. So why am I using a Stratus 3, which is kind of like the most expensive one, Well, the reason that I'm using it is because it just works. It connects to GPS immediately. ADS-B works really well. The form factor is also really small. And in talking about that form factor, what I actually use is the dash mount. And so this is a sticky, rubbery dash mount, and that just sits right on top. Very simple. And overall, it works really well. Battery life is great. So I'm flying with the Stratus 3. It's great to have that situational awareness around you should anything in the aircraft fail. So I'm also flying here with an ASA Vfr Knee Board. So, you know, I'll put down all my frequencies and everything before my departure. I'll put down my anticipated departure and center frequencies that I'll be changing to throughout the flight. And I'll also then be able to write down any taxi instructions or ATC instructions that I get throughout the flight as well. So that's really beneficial. It's also got a little cheat sheet here as well for some things should you forget what light gun signals are. But you got that. So continuing to look here, back to the pivot case. Here is a suction cup pivot mount. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward. It just sits on the side. The iPad slides into it, so that works out really well. Got a sunglasses case here. I don't want to actually smush my sunglasses. They are prescription, so we don't want to break those. Those would be expensive. Flyboy's knee board. So, like I mentioned, I actually prefer writing down with an actual writing utensil on paper my instructions. The alternative is that you could actually put an iPad here, for example, an iPad mini or an iPad Pro on the Flyboy's knee board, mount your pivot case to it, and you could actually write with the Apple Pencil. So that's an alternative. I do have it here. I don't use it a ton, but maybe looking to be able to get into it a little bit more now that I'll be running a couple of iPads. But you know, you don't want to get too much technology in the cockpit itself. So still have it though, and it's beneficial. Here, suction cup mounts. Once again, I do have the Stratus mount. Like I mentioned, I do fly with the Stratus dash mount. Dash kind of, you know, just mount is really what it is. And but I do have the suction cup if I want to put it on the side of the window. So I can do that. Just don't forget to make sure the AHRs are adjusted properly if you're going to change the orientation of the Stratus. It's one good thing to keep in mind. Also fly with a light, and but the key here is that it also has red for night. And really this head strap is really beneficial because you can just fly with it, and really you keep your hands free, and you don't have you don't have one of these in your mouth. I know some of them have a rubber end so you can hold them in your mouth, but just try and free up your hands and mouth and get a headlamp. Really affordable, really easy to do. So those are the headlamps. Continuing, obviously a flashlight here, Smith & Wesson. This is great. It's got white, blue, and red, so quite a few different colors, but really good flashlight to have if you're doing any pre-flight and things like that. Moving here to the front of the bag. So on the left side, I always remember the left side because I'm flying in the left seat of the plane, and PIC there is on the left, so my headset's on the left. But I have a couple things here. One, I have a stopwatch, so I don't have to be fumbling with my phone. So if you're throughout your flight training, you might want to be recording obviously your time on your cross country and your climb and descent and things like that, and your legs, and so you can do that just very easily with just a simple stopwatch. But then I'm using the Bose A20. I said I'm going to make an investment early on in my flight training and just get a really high quality headset. This is one thing that I have not regretted. Definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend doing it. Just get a good headset, right? This is active noise canceling, and I would highly recommend that. This also actually has Bluetooth, which has been pretty convenient at a few times if required. So that Bluetooth is pretty beneficial also. Then getting over here to this side of the bag, I have another headset. So A, this is a backup headset, but B, this is a headset for my passengers. It's an ASA headset, and it's actually got the David Clark gel ear cups, and then it has the David Clark cloth covers. And I have given this headset to some people and said, try this on, let me know what you think about it. And they try it on and they say, this is literally the most comfortable headset that I've ever worn. So it's incredibly affordable. It doesn't have any active noise cancellation or anything, but it is incredibly comfortable. So consider a really just nice passenger headset. You know, give your passenger a great experience when they're going to come up and fly with you. You don't want to give them some old yunky, junky, dirty headset. I don't think that's really very nice. And so, anyways, this is a secondary headset. So, lastly, looking inside the bag itself, is I have quite a few different chargers. and battery packs and whatnot and cables. So you're going to want a standby battery for your electronics if you need it, potentially a 12 volt power as well. You know, these things are always evolving. It seems as though USB-C is carrying the most amount of power to the electronics and able to charge things as fast as possible. So consider some USB-C things, you know, if you're in a pinch, but obviously you want to get a lot of cables. A lot of this stuff is all just available on Amazon to get, but there's a lot of cables and whatnot. So getting all the way here to the front of the bag, there's a little pouch here. I don't actually use that, but it's nice to have. This little pouch here is really nice to fit a phone if needed. But also I have this little organizer here. This is a logbook organizer I got from Sporty's. It's really great. It actually has my, my certificate there. I'm able to have my passport if I need it. I don't usually travel with that, but if I need it. I'm also able to have my checkbook. It's important to be writing checks in aviation. Flying costs money. That is what it is. Also can have my medical in here, and I've gone ahead and laminated my medical in the event that it ever gets damaged. Then the lamination should hopefully to protect that. And then I have my logbook here, right? So I'm able to have all my logbook here and everything from that perspective. So that's all, just keeps everything very organized, because these things are important when you're flying. You just want to be able to grab and go, okay, and have everything there. So that's the logbook organizer. I also fly with my rosaries. So there's a lot of love there. So flying with my rosaries as well. E6B flight computer. This thing is absolutely fantastic if you're going to be using it. So if you're not using ForeFlight and you're going to be, you know, calculating pressure, altitude, density, altitude, some really important things when you're flying, this is great. So definitely pick one of those up, and you can use this on your FAA knowledge test as well, the electronic E6B. So if you have any questions on how to use it, let me know. Maybe I'll do a video on how to actually use it, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. And I've got quite a few different pencils here, but pens, I'm very specific about pens. Fisher Space Pens specifically. Fisher Space Pens, they are a pressurized cartridge. They can write upside down, underwater, in water. I mean, these things are great. I never have to worry about my pen going bad and me searching for a pen. Goes great with the knee board, the paper knee board. So Fisher Space Pens, I have a few of those in here. And then also you're going to want a backup radio. So this here is the Yaesu. I think this is the 550. And basically this just goes on here, and this is a backup radio in the event that you need to use that or you lose comms. So definitely good to have a backup radio with you as well. And last, there's a pouch on the inside here, and just really have quite a few different batteries. So always using some AAAs or AA's, just having a few extra batteries with you, and having those. So, you know, really that is about it for what I have in my flight bag. Like I mentioned, I am going to go through my flight survival bag as well, do a video on that so you guys can learn a little about the things I have there. You know, it's just important to be flying with both of these, and I like to have everything contained in both bags, so I can just grab each bag and I can go straight to the plane. I know everything is in it. I don't have to think about all the different things to bring every time I need to go and fly. So if you have any questions, let me know. Any comments, definitely leave those as well. And if you like the content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're going to be continuing to come out with new real-world aviation tips, tricks, and flying videos. So once again, stay level, guys, and we'll see you. Bye.